Welcome back to PC Builder. I'm Jason. Black Friday CPU prices are here. That's right, they are here. We got Black Friday sales on motherboards, on RAM, on CPUs, and more. And we'll go over what we expect those prices to hit over the Black Friday and holiday shopping period. We'll also jump in our 9800X3D data, and we'll go through the best gaming and production CPU at every budget level. Remember, if you get value out of this video, please give it a like. It makes a huge difference to the channel, and of course, subscribe for more cool PC content. With that, let's jump into it. This video is sponsored by Best Buy, your source for premium gaming gear when you need it. Like this Asus ROG Zephyrus G14 R9 GeForce RTX 4060 laptop with OLED gaming screen. Use DLSS 3 on the GeForce RTX 4060 to boost performance and resolution in games. Or this HyperX Cloud 3 wireless gaming headset. Enjoy high quality audio across PC, PS5, and Nintendo Switch with this comfortable and durable gaming headset and mic. Shop deals all holiday season, plus new doorbusters every Friday at Best Buy, using the links in the video description. Let's start off where else. Black Friday shopping is here. That's right, early Black Friday deals have already started as I'm filming this, and we are of course expecting Black Friday on November 29th. November 29th, that should kick off some mega deals out there, and those deals typically go for at least a couple of days, often all the way through Cyber Monday, which is the Monday afterwards. And it's just a hugely intense period of deals. We post them on our Twitter, so follow us on Twitter. We also post them on our community page here on YouTube as well, so check those out. Like I said, early Black Friday deals are already here, and on a lot of sites like Newegg, you will see that Black Friday price protection is a thing. That means if you buy it here at this retailer and it goes cheaper here, sometimes somewhere else, but most often here, you will get the price savings automatically refunded to you. What kind of Black Friday deals are we expecting? Well, let's take a quick look at October Amazon Prime Day deals. They're often very much the same. The big deals there were last generation CPUs. Now, obviously, we'll get to the 9800X3D. I'll talk to you about that. We don't expect discounts on the 9800X3D. In fact, we'll talk about how it's sold out everywhere pretty much right now. It's really tough to come by, although it might be getting better. But last generation CPUs like the Ryzen 5600 down to $112, the 5700X3D, for those of you even potentially looking to do a brand new gaming PC build out there, got down to $181 on Amazon Prime Day. I expect these deals to come back. There was also some interesting things that Newegg did out there in terms of combos. So they took like a Ryzen 7600X and then a 1TB NVMe SSD for about $60. So you basically got this CPU for what, like $149? I mean, that's insane for a Ryzen 7600X with the SSD. So keep your eyes out for those kinds of deals around Black Friday. Of course, the Ryzen 9800X3D CPU is finally here. That's right, it's finally here. And yes, it is the fastest gaming CPU on the planet right now, bar none, and it retails for $479. That'll be important in just a second when we talk about availability. Of course, we did an entire build guide around the Ryzen 9800X3D. So best RAM for it, best motherboards for it, best coolers for it, PC cases, everything else. I'll leave a link down in the video description. If you're thinking about doing a Ryzen 9800X3D build, check out that video. But in terms of its performance, look at that. This is TechSpot's Ryzen 9800X3D review with an RTX 4090 at 1080p. It just smokes, literally smokes everything else out there. Everything else out there, including the 7800X3D. Found it's about 10% faster in gaming. You know, a lot of astute people out there will point out, hey, we were able to get the 7800X3D for just $330 or $340 just a couple of months ago. 10% performance for like $150 or something like that, or $160 in terms of a price increase, doesn't seem like that much more performance. Yeah, it is. It is what it is, though. If you want the fastest on the planet, it's the 9800X3D, and we'll talk about other alternatives. Of course, one thing I do want to caution is you should buy it from the retailers directly and don't buy it from a third-party seller on some of these sites, because more often than not, they're either scalpers charging, look at these prices they're charging for $684. It's not worth $684. Also, eBay, all the listings on eBay at this point are people who are scalping it. Or you're going to find it for like $399, which I keep saying. It's not going to be discounted, folks. If you can't even find it at retail for its MSRP, when you do see it at $399, that's not a real price. That is a scam seller. So make sure you're buying it either directly from the retailer that you're pushing at, and you're getting it for the actual MSRP price as well. Of course, Intel also launched CPUs. Maybe you're aware that the Intel Core Ultra i5, Core Ultra 7, and Core Ultra 9 CPU reviews finally came out, and guess what? They were terrible, absolutely terrible. It turned out that these CPUs are an absolute terrible buggy mess right now, but I will say there is some hope out there. So let's start off with the good news. In Cinebench, look at the Ultra 9 285K, the Ultra 7 265K. They totally kill it in any synthetic workload like Cinebench 2024 here. Look at those scores. They're absolutely amazing. But the problem is anytime you put them on any actual workload like Photoshop here, look at that. They're all the way down at the bottom. I'm actually going to have to scroll down so you can see them here. They're at the bottom of the chart behind like the 12600K. The 12600K, totally insane. So clearly something was going wrong. When you take a look at their gaming performance, same story. Basically, at best, they tied the 5800X 3D, and these are like $400 and $600 CPUs. At best, they're tying the 5800X 3D, and they're coming close to the 9700X. Just doesn't make any sense whatsoever out here. And so Intel actually came out and admitted that not only did the launch not go as planned, but the CPUs are an absolute total buggy mess. They say that there are scheduling issues in Windows, there are microcode issues, and they're going to start working on a fix. The fix should be out, they say, within a month. I mean, my goodness, why did you even launch these things if that happened? That being said, if Intel can get these things to work, I think that's in everyone's best interest out there. And for the meantime, I'm warning people, do not buy these CPUs until Intel can apply some kind of fix and we can see where maybe they actually land. Maybe they are actually as bad as they look. However, given where they hit in Cinebench and some of the other things, I feel like fixes might go a long way. Let's jump into CPU prices. We're going to start off on the Intel side, then we'll go over to Ryzen. Right now, November 2024. Now, this is before the big Black Friday sales, but of course, this is during early Black Friday sales right now. There are some really good deals out there, especially on the more budget side. Let's talk about them. The Intel i3 12100F, 13100F, $76 for the 1200F. Remember, it comes with included stock cooler out there. That's insane. And the 13100F, $79. And I will say that the B660 motherboards and B760 motherboards are on fire sale. Everything Intel is on fire sale right now because their reputation has been on fire. So they're slashing prices, finally slashing prices to try and get rid of some of this stuff out there. Now, the CPU to take a look at if you're more on the budget end is the i5 12400F, $111, really, really good price. Again, comes with included stock cooler. The B660 motherboards are significantly cheaper out there. I'd go DDR4 on those motherboards, by the way. DDR5 still kind of a little bit more expensive on that side. The rest of the lock CPUs in like 12600K, 12700K, the price has actually gone up. I do expect lower prices during actual Black Friday sales, but the CPU maybe to keep your eye on if you want to give them a chance. Now, Intel says they have fixed the degradation issues with their latest BIOS update. I'm not ready to give them a pass just yet on 13th and 14th gen stuff, but if you are, the i5 13600KF right now for $175, that's totally insane. This is the kind of pricing that we needed to see out of Intel last year, a year and a half ago almost, in order to be competitive with Ryzen. They just wouldn't do it. Finally, they're doing it now, but is it too little, too late? You can decide. And of course, we got the Core Ultra CPUs out there with the crazy pricing right now. They really haven't budged on the pricing except for the Core Ultra 7 265K. It's now the same price as the KF. I don't know what they're thinking there. And then the Ultra 9 285K, honestly, it has been sold out since they launched. I'm kind of thinking that that one was a paper launch, and I really don't know what's going on there. Obviously, for $629, you really wouldn't even want it. Jumping over to AMD Ryzen CPU prices in November 2024. Again, before all the big Black Friday sales, but during the early Black Friday sales, and pricing kind of skewed all over the place, but I do expect those prices that we saw on October Prime Day to come back. But let's start off with a good value CPU, as long as you have a GPU that doesn't need PCI Gen 4, which unfortunately is too many of the budget ones now. It's the Ryzen 5500. Is $83 right now. Again, comes with that included stock cooler. Another great value right now is the Ryzen 5600. The price keeps changing on this. It's now $119. It really does keep bouncing around. If you're going to get one of these CPUs, check the 5600X at the same time, because often what will happen is they'll just kind of yo-yo those prices between the two of them. So check which one's cheaper. It doesn't matter which one you get. They both come with an included stock cooler, and they both have relatively the same performance if you turn on Precision Boost Overdrive. Then, of course, we've got the Ryzen 5700X. 162 right now. A second ago was $150. I don't know what's going on with the pricing. Again, pricing is fluctuating all over the place right now. The 5700X 3D, back to $206, had gotten all the way down to that much, much lower $188 price. But honestly, if you're an AM4 owner out there and you've been waiting to upgrade, I don't know how much longer the 5700X 3D is going to necessarily be available. The 5800X 3D has essentially sold out. I don't know if it's been discontinued or not, has essentially sold out. So I would pick up one of these while you can, if that's what you're thinking. Over to the Ryzen 7600, 7600X, same pricing on a lot of Ryzen 7000 CPUs, except some of those prices have gone up, like on the 7700, 7700X, which was a much better value during Amazon Prime Day last month. It was, in fact, it's only a $40 difference in terms of price. I will say, like, Newegg is again running the free 1 terabyte SSD with a Ryzen 7600X, so the 7600X 224, but it's a $60 SSD. So then you're basically getting this for like $164 for the CPU, which is obviously a really, really, really good deal. 7800X 3D continues to be like out of stock / sold out / way overpriced, especially when we get down to like the 9800X 3D, which yes, it does appear as though it's finally coming into stock right now. It doesn't appear like it's going to be out of stock that much longer. It doesn't appear that scalpers are going to necessarily take this thing over. $479 right now. I don't expect that price to go down anytime soon. Anytime soon. And remember, if you see discounts on this, it better be sold and shipped by Amazon or Newegg or the direct retailer and not some crazy third party you've never heard of. Otherwise, it's a scam. That's why I think you're going to be picking this up for the MSRP if you're picking it up. Let's jump to the best CPU for gaming and production in November 2024 based on current pricing. And of course, we'll kind of guesstimate some of the estimated prices out there for Black Friday as well. If you're not familiar with how we do this, we basically take all the CPUs that we're tracking, we give them a multi-core score for production and a gaming score for gaming, and then we basically figure out what's the RAM, what's the motherboard, what's the cooler that they're going to need to come up with an overall platform cost, and then we take them and we get the best price to performance in their various budget categories between budget, mid-range, and high performance. Of course, this entire spreadsheet is linked down in the video description. You can jump in there, put in your pricing if you want, change some of the configurations if you feel like that makes it better, and get your own numbers. And quick note, all this data has been updated based on Ryzen 9800X 3D reviews and Intel Core Ultra 200 series reviews as well. I put it all in the notes so you can check it out with a link in the video description, but all the data has been updated. Let's jump into the best budget gaming CPU in November 2024. This is where the total platform price is $450 or less. So basically, these are the best CPUs for the budget level that just aren't going to bottleneck your GPU and they're going to be super cheap. Obviously, the Ryzen 5500 continues to be the champ up there at $1.96 in terms of its price to performance, and the platform only costs $206. However, I will say I'm increasingly falling away from that because NVIDIA and AMD are cutting costs on their lower end GPUs, and they're basically cutting that connector in half and only using half the connector and requiring you that you use PCI Gen 4 in order to get the most out of it. The Ryzen 5500 is only a PCI Gen 3 CPU, so it's kind of tough to recommend that. That's why my pick right now would either be the i3 13100F or 1200F. Go ahead and pick either one. They're basically the same CPU out there with a good value B660 motherboard for like $80. By the way, Intel motherboards are on fire sale, absolute fire sale out there. I think that makes a pretty good platform. If you want to come up in terms of performance, the Ryzen 5600 just makes way more sense, even though it costs slightly more than the i5 12400. That's because in the future, you can drop in a 5700X 3D onto that CPU platform, and you'll have a CPU that's as good as a Ryzen 7600X right now for not that much money. And you can use the included stock cooler on that. You can always upgrade the cooler later. The 12400 is not bad, especially if there's steeper discounts around Black Friday, because you will be able to drop in like a 13600K, 13700K on down the track. However, the CPUs of it have had issues, so it's kind of a big question mark. Now remember, 12th gen is just fine. It's the 13th and 14th gen CPUs that have 65 watt TDP or higher, so anything higher than an i3, that have had an issue. Jumping over them is mid-range production CPU. So this is where the multi-core score, which is based on the Cinebench score, is 170 or greater, and the price is $750 or less. And I will say, look how many CPUs now make this list. That's because motherboard prices have come down, RAM prices have come down, SSD, like all the prices, the cooler prices have come down. It's substantially cheaper to build a gaming PC right now than it probably has been in the last year or two. And look at Intel. Again, this is a category they tend to dominate because they have a core-heavy architecture. The i7 12700K continues to be insane value, and 12th gen CPUs not affected by the 13th and 14th gen degradation issues, although again, Intel says that they fixed that. with the latest BIOS update, if you believe them, go ahead and pull the trigger on that. But the 12700K right now, especially at $191 for that CPU, Z790 motherboards, by the way, are super cheap. So if this is a DDR4 setup, if you wanted to go DDR5, it's not that good in terms of value, but it's still very, very good compared to everything else out here. In terms of Ryzen, it's really tough to say. The 9900X is not bad. You do have upgradability on the AM5 platform. That is one of the strengths of it. The 7900X, also not a bad value out there if you're looking for Ryzen. I will say, where's the Core Ultra 7 265K Core Ultra 5? Look at the terrible value. Only the 245K even makes this list, and it's terrible, terrible value. Intel cut some CPU prices out there. Jumping over the best mid-range gaming CPU. So this is where the gaming score is 130 or greater, and the total price is less than $750 or $750 or less. And remember, this is not including the GPU, the SSD, the power supply, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be the same no matter what. It's just the motherboards, the RAM, and the cooler, as well as the CPU. And look at that, the 5700X 3D is just dominating right now in terms of price to performance. A lot of that is due to the fact that B550 motherboards, we've seen even more price cuts just now on B550 motherboards out there. DDR4 RAM for 32 gigabyte kits is absolutely rock bottom price out there, around $40. It's totally insane. I could see somebody building a 5700X 3D gaming PC and taking that extra cost savings, putting it in their pocket. Now, it's only $40 or $50, but if that makes a difference on your GPU, maybe you go for it. That being said, I do like the Ryzen 7600, 7600X, especially if you can get that combo deal out there with the SSD that would make it even cheaper. That makes a lot of sense. And to me, that is the best value gaming CPU, and it has remained the best value gaming CPU out there. Because not only do you get right now a great value CPU and you can up your GPU budget, but in the future on AM5, you're just going to drop in a 9800X3D, 1100X3D, whatever they call Zen 6 X3D instead, and you're going to be on your merry way to continue gaming on that thing. Makes a lot of sense. Intel i5 13600K, it's kind of like almost better late than never, except it's almost like a what should have been. Right? This should have been the pricing all along for Intel to be way more competitive, because it would have been very easy a year and a half ago to recommend the 13600K with this kind of pricing, especially now that Z790 motherboards are like dirt cheap. They are dirt cheap right now, by the way. DDR5 Z790 motherboards, you can get them for as low as like $120. It's crazy right now. The rest of the stack, not really impressed with it. The 9600X, the 7700X, maybe if you want a little bit extra CPU power with your game, but to me, invest all that money in your GPU. Those are your top three, really. Jumping over to high performance production CPUs, before we get to high performance gaming, which I know everyone's waiting for, where's that 9800X 3D gonna rank, right? Obviously, Intel continues to dominate this category because of their core heavy architecture and massive, massive CPU price cuts. They're basically on fire sale right now because, again, Intel's reputation is on fire due to the degradation issues with their 13th and 14th gen chips. And unfortunately, the terrible performance of the Core Ultra series that just came out. I mean, let's just spend a moment there. Core Ultra 285K, it's towards the bottom, same with the 265K. Just doesn't make a lot of sense right now, especially given the fact that Intel is not committed to any future CPU upgrades on that. If that's the case, why buy that? Why not buy a 14700K? Especially if they have fixed the degradation issues through the latest BIOS updates. Look at that. That's actually a pretty good value out there. I will say, however, if you're interested in platform longevity out there, like the Ryzen 9900X right now for $382, that's a pretty good deal, man. That is a pretty good deal. If you want the best of the best, the 9950X is probably where I would land, especially if you have AVX 512 workloads in there. Our multi-core score is based on Cinebench, and no, that does not capture all of the various productivity applications, server applications out there where the 9950X might super shine over like the 7950X. So if that's you, I would lean towards that one. Remember that we do have a 9950X build guide on the channel that you can check out if you're interested. Jumping over the best high performance gaming CPU November 2024. So this is where the gaming score is 165 or greater. And yes, I did increase that slightly to filter out some of the CPUs with the Windows 24H2 that had kind of gotten on this list, but they were still at the bottom. I didn't think they were that interesting. I know what you all want to see. The 9800X 3D, it's at the top. Not only is it the highest performance gaming CPU out there, even at $479, the price to performance of the 9800X 3D is still the top. It still beats everything out, which I was a little bit surprised at. I actually expected maybe the 14700K with massive, massive price cuts might catch it. You know, it's not anywhere near as performative. Look at the gaming score, 205 versus 165. It's just kind of a bloodbath out there for Intel right now, and I honestly don't know where they go. Where their any of the Core Ultra 9 or Core Ultra 7 CPUs that just came out, they're not even on the list. Hopefully Intel can fix that and they can get themselves on this list, but we're gonna have to wait and see at least a month. Fingers crossed. We do not want to live in a world where there's only one CPU vendor out there. We've done that before when Intel dominated. We don't want to go back there. That being said, if you can find a 7800X3D on a really good sale, even down to $400 or $380, and I know a lot of you bought it out there when it was around that price, I wouldn't feel that bad. It's only 10% less gaming performance than the 9800X3D. Do you really need the extra 10% of productivity performance? Probably not. You'll probably never notice it as just a regular gamer and regular user out there. In terms of like the 7900X3D, 7950X3D, I'd put a big time out. We're gonna get Ryzen 9000 versions of these CPUs, including the new second generation V-cache that goes on the bottom, makes them easier to cool. They can ramp the frequency higher. So I am expecting a similar uplift with those. And it is possible that AMD is going to debut them with both CCDs having V-cache for the very first time. That would be insane. I can't promise that, and I don't know that for sure, but I would just push the timeout button on those, in particular if you're waiting for their higher core count ones. Otherwise, grab a 9800X3D. Let's play everyone's favorite game. Should you buy now or should you wait? Well, Matt, it is Black Friday. What? This is the thing you have been waiting for all year. All year. Yes, I know we didn't get new GPUs launching, and that is complicating some things out there. That being said, not only are we going to see deals on everything other than the 9800X3D, there will be no deals on that, by the way, but you're going to see CPU deals, you're going to see motherboard deals, RAM deals, you're going to see cases, everything else is going to be on sale. You're going to save quite a bit of money by building right now. And there's going to be fire sales on the 7000 series GPUs right now. We know that from AMD and a lot of the Intel Arc A580, A750 for the ultra budget crowd. But let's go budget by budget. Ultra budget level, I like the i3 12100F, 13100F, but I will say for $30 more, you can get a Ryzen 5600, probably the direction I would go, especially with all the GPU sales out there. You can still pick up a 6750 XT for like $290. That's a good deal. 7700 XT might also be another one to look at for like $350. Tons and tons of good deals out there right now. For those of you more in the mid-range, my pick, Ryzen 7600, it's not even close. Maybe they offer some kind of super sale on the 9600X or the 7700 that gets kind of enticing. I'm just not seeing it right now, especially with a combo deal, the SSD and the CPU, which gets the CPU price down to, you know, kind of a ridiculous $165. Remember, you get on AM5 now, you set everything up, and in the future, when you're ready to upgrade to a higher end gaming CPU, you're going to drop in that 1100X3D, maybe a discounted 9800X3D in the future, and you're going to get that big GPU right now. That's to me why it just makes so much sense in the mid-range. At the high end, I could see some consternation because we did not get like the 5090, the 5080, the RTX 5090, 5080 in the fall like we normally do. NVIDIA clearly pushed those back into 2025. Well, obviously they did because they're not here yet, right? Same with RX 8000 series GPUs. They did not come out. We're waiting for them in the new year. Arc Battle Mage, who knows when that's going to come out. But really, I think that those two GPU launches are the ones everyone's looking at because that's what the 9800X3D is really for. It's for the 5090. It's for the 4090 if you can still find one of those, but they have stopped production of them right now. You don't necessarily need it with some of those more mid-range GPUs, though of course you do see an FPS increase, so maybe it's something to check out. But again, you're going to see sales on motherboards, on coolers, on everything else. So maybe it's worth buying all that stuff and kind of getting ready. I will say if you're waiting for a 5090, you might be waiting for a while. Scalpers are going to descend on that thing. For the 4090, it took months and months and months after the launch to be able to get one anywhere near a sane price. So just buckle up for that one. Remember, if you got value out of this video, please give it a like. It makes a huge difference to the channel, especially this guy right here. And of course, subscribe for more cool PC building content. What kind of cool PC building content? Well, take all this CPU goodness. And how do you get the best CPU GPU combo ever? Check it out right here. We go through all the best CPU and GPU combos in 2024, updated for all the new releases. Check it out, and we'll catch you on the next one.